Yes, hello viewers, it's Peter Elgar once again from Brentwood, Essex in little old England. Look, I've got this on loan from a camera club member. It's a famous Olympus Trip 35. Classic little camera. So I've never had one of these, but he loaned it to me to try out and I've tried it out. So we'll look at the features of it and I'll show you a few results. The Olympus Trip came out, I don't know, about the 1980s and late 70s, 1980s. It has a selenium cell around the lens. So that means you don't need a battery for it, because the selenium cell generates its own current as the light strikes it. It's got a Zuiko 2.8 lens, 40mm focal length. So it's slightly wide angle, and it's an extremely sharp lens. Although it's only a compact camera, the quality of the lens is still good. So it's very famous for the sharpness of its lens. Now inside you can see a little hole, which is the aperture. But that is also the shutter. The aperture and the shutter are the same thing. And it's a sort of a square shape. So those of you who are on about bokeh will find that your out of focus blobs in the background are squarish, because it's not a typical aperture with circular blades. It has at the front a 3mm coaxial flash socket, but you also can plug on the top a hot shoe flash here with one single electrical connection there. And I've used that, and I've used this one. Here is the viewfinder. Now it's not a rangefinder. You have to guess the distance, or you can set by means of a little programmed setting here. These ones from a little head and shoulders through to a mum and dad and people, a little group, or a landscape, a little mountain. Now that is on landscape, so if you want closer you put it against the red line, and that's for head and shoulders, a little red line there. But I prefer to use the traditional scale here, which is in feet and meters. So feet is in orange and meters are in white. So therefore when you have it on the head and shoulders setting, it focuses down to 1 meter there. And when you have it on 3 meters here, you'll find that you set this aperture, this distance here, with the people, like that, a little group of people, about 3 meters away. Now there are settable lens apertures here from 2.8 to f22, and it says it's for flash. So what does that mean? It means when you fit a flash gun, you have to choose the aperture according to the power of the flash and the speed of the film, according to the instructions. Now some of them will give you an automatic setting, such as on here, a sun pack. So if you've got 200 ASA filming and you have it on the green setting, it tells you to use 2.8. If you want more depth of field, you come down to this one, the red setting. It tells you put your lens on f11, and that's if you want an intermediate, the yellow, you put it to 5.6, and the flash goes off and reads the scene through here, through the little what you call magic eye. So that's what that's for, to control the depth of field with flash. But you only get 1/40th of a second shutter speed when you use it with flash. So how do you get other shutter speeds? You have to set to automatic here. You put A against the red line and you get a programmed setting of shutter speed and aperture, but you don't know what the camera is going to set. It could be anything. It could be half a second at 2.8 if you're in the dark. You don't know. Or it could be 250th at f11 in bright light. You must remember to tell the the camera what film speed you've got in by turning this. It's on 100 there at the moment. It's 125 for FP4, 160, 200, 400, 250, 400. It goes to 400 ASA. You can't get any faster than that. And it goes down to, what does it go down to? 40, no, 25 for Kodachrome 2, which is discontinued. So you used to be able to use Kodachrome in that, 25 ASA. So you've got your focusing, you've got the control of your film speed in there, you've got automatic exposure, and you've got a choice of apertures for flash. And if you want to, you can use your focusing here by a traditional method of guessing the distance. How do you wind it on here until it stops, you press the shutter and it takes the picture. Then when you have it on the flash setting, whichever aperture you've got, it always goes off at a 40th of a second. You can't have anything different than a 40th of a second. So there we are. Now to load the film, you open the back. See if we can show you the action of the shutter. Yes, you can just see the light coming through. We'll put it on to 2.8. See if you can see it coming through. There, watch the shutter. Yeah, so that's on 2.8 at a 40th of a second, because you always get a 40th. Now here's a film, an old film which I used for test purposes because it was badly stored when I was given it, so it's useless. Put it in there like that, pull out a little bit of the tongue, you put it in a slot here until it latches onto a little peg. You wind that, press with your thumb here, make certain it goes onto a cog here. Yes, then you can close the camera back, continue winding, put it onto your flash setting until you get a 40th, press once, then you can rewind to tighten the film like that, and when you are correctly loaded, it should move. Yes, that's now correctly loaded, and though it says start, you will find you can get extra frames by start photographing even though it hasn't reached number 1. So there we are. So I'll show you some results. Now I've got trouble with my printer, so the colour quality on the black and white film is dreadful. But here's a street scene I did, and I held the camera at waist level and I guessed the distance at about 3 meters, and I had it on A, automatic, and it came out okay. There's 2 who posed for me, workmen, and there I used a flash, a little sandpack flash on top, and it was on A, automatic, and I didn't know what shutter speed it was giving me, but the flash worked perfectly and just filled in the shadows nicely, because you can use any shutter speed with that for flash. Here is where I used a full power flash in a graveyard to lighten up the scene, and that again was on A for automatic with a full power small flash. This one is focused down as close as it will go to 1 meter away, and I had it on A automatic and a little flash this way, and I set the flash to 2.8. So it's a very low power flash, just illuminated this side here, this statue, but the detail of that Zuiko lens is extremely good. So there's a quick rundown on the Olympus Trip, a little camera that will give you hours of pleasure, and there's not much to go wrong with it. So hope you've enjoyed it, and see you next time, folks.